Welcome to the Entrepreneur Motivation Podcast. I'm your host, Chris Bello. Happy New Year, by the way. I know we are just starting 2023. So if you are listening to this when it just comes out, Happy New Year. And if you're listening to this at another time, happy day to you, whatever day it is, morning or night, whatever part of the world you're in. Today, we're going to be talking about 3 things that you need to implement this year for a successful year in life overall. Now, you may have heard me talk about some of these things before. I'm going to reiterate and dive deeper into them because I still see people struggling with this and not utilizing simple systems that are often free to use. So the first thing that you're going to want to make sure that you have implemented, if you have not already, is using a digital calendar to track everything. And I mean everything. Personally, I use Google Calendar. If you just go to calendar.google.com, log in with the account that you use the most, you'll be able to access that. And why I recommend Google Calendar is that the app's really seamless. It's very visual. It's easy to use. Personally, I use that over the Apple Calendar in my iPhone. And so I would recommend that you give that a try, but I put everything in here when possible. I don't always do it, but I do my best to. This is workouts, doctor appointments, coffee meetings, podcast recordings. I actually do put all of those meetings in there, but sometimes the workout piece, I'll just go work out and the time may fluctuate slightly. So I try to time block. This is how I do it. For example, I'm doing 75 hard. If you've been following my journey, I'm on day 18 right now. Finished my first workout this morning, and I'm recording this actually on the 1st of January in 2023. So I already got my first New Year workout in. I'm going to do my second outdoor workout later. And the way I've handled this is for the 75 days, for the entire duration of this program, I blocked off 6:45 a.m. to 7:45 a.m. for the first workout and 3 p.m. to 4 p.m. for the second workout, just to make sure that no other appointments get booked over those slots. Now, today, for example, I worked out around 10 a.m. So if I really wanted to, I can go into the 6:45 a.m. workout slot and I can edit it, change it to 10 a.m. in 2 seconds, like literally edit 10 a.m. save. 3 clicks, 3 button clicks, and it would block that space out on my calendar so that if someone was about to book a time to chat with me, they could no longer book that window and it is allocated for the gym spot. So if you're creating a manual group event, be sure to invite people to that as well. Let's say you're trying to get a little lunch together or a dinner and you've got 5 friends in a group text. You're trying to get something organized. They agree on a day, a time, and a place. I'm usually the one to initiate that. I'll send out the group invitations and I just ask everyone for their email address. And this way they get the invitation, whether they use Microsoft Outlook or their Apple Calendar or Google Calendar, whatever calendar they use. If they do use something, hopefully, they'll at least get a notification and an email. And then you can also be sure to reply and send an email to all those people just to remind them. And this will improve no-shows. You'll have less, oops, I'm so sorry, I forgot type texts, and you'll have better events overall because all the information can be stored within the event on the calendar. So please, please, please use a digital calendar as step one if you're not already. If you're writing things down on a planner, if you're writing them down on a notebook, that's awesome, but you can't invite people, you can't send reminders. There's no technology involved there. So I think if you add the technology piece, it'll really help you achieve a lot more in less time. The second thing that I really think you need to consider if you're not doing it already is having a scheduling link of some kind. I have talked a lot about Calendly, and there's other things like Acuity scheduling. And I think if you use something like Kartra, one of my friends uses Kartra, they've got a calendar feature built into there, or a booking feature rather, where people can schedule time to do phone calls or Zoom calls or whatever, Skype calls, possibly there's different integrations there. But Calendly has been super easy for me to use. I think I pay 11 bucks a month for the premium. You can get away with a lot if you just use the free version, which gives you one event type. And if you have appointments of any kind, if you're a salesperson, if you do podcasts, this just makes life so much easier to get time on a calendar that agrees with both parties' schedules. So you need to make it easy for people to schedule time for you. The harder you make it for people to schedule time for you, the less people are going to do that. So inbound phone calls are one way a lot of people capture leads and business, and they follow up with people who are interested in what they have to offer. But personally, that's a little bit inconvenient. especially if you're a one-man shop and it's just going straight to your cell phone. Let's say you're in another meeting or you're on a Zoom call or you're helping a client out, you're doing a quote, doing a walkthrough on their house. If you're like a contractor, for example, realistically, that phone's going to go to voicemail, that phone call. You're not going to get a chance to answer it. You just can't be sitting there 24/7 answering every phone call. And if you do that, you're being very reactive and you're interrupting your thought process whenever you're in that state of flow and you're answering every phone call. You're going to constantly interrupt yourself. And there's a cost associated to task switching where your brain's focused on one thing and then you focus on the phone call. Now you're focused on something else. You're never going to get in a state of flow if you're constantly reacting, answering every phone call. So the solution for this is to have people schedule time on your calendar. I include buffers like a 3-hour buffer or 24-hour buffer sometimes for some types of events. Or for my podcast, for example, whenever I have guests on, my Calendly link only allows them to schedule time on Tuesdays. So let's say it's Wednesday, they want to schedule a call. I send a link out to them. They're going to be a podcast guest. The earliest they can book a time on my calendar is going to be the following Tuesday. So I'm not going to be scrambling and be like, oh crap, I'm doing something right now and they just scheduled to be on my podcast in 5 minutes. That's how a phone call feels to me. You're not going to have to deal with that when it comes to using a tool like Calendly. If you go to chrisbello.com/Calendly, CALENDLY, you can sign up, check it out, see what you think. Heads up, that is an affiliate link, but you've heard me talk about it before. I use it literally for everything. I've got like 15 different appointment types. And so I only recommend product, services, software that I highly recommend. So be sure to go check that out whenever you have a moment. And the cool thing too, another example, another selling point on it is you can capture information when people book. So let's say I take a phone call, someone wants to sell their house, cool. Now I got to ask all these questions. What's your name? How long have you owned the property? How much do you owe on the mortgage? What's your timeline to sell? What's the property address? Does it need repairs? All the questions that you go through. Versus if I use a Calendly link and someone says on Facebook Messenger, hey man, I want to sell my house this year, thinking about it. I see you're in real estate. Can you help me? Yeah, I'd love to chat. Here, schedule a time to talk with me. Here's my link. Whenever works for you, pick a day and time that works best. Now, whenever they're doing that, I send them my listing appointment link for a house selling consultation. And it's got questions like, what's your payoff? Like, I don't think I have that one on there, but I should add it on there, to be honest. It asks, what's the home address? Are there multiple properties? Do you need to buy a place as well? What's your timeline? Is it within 3 months? Is it within 6 months? Is it 6+ months from now? So I get a good sense up front of their motivation, the address, does it need repairs, anything else you'd like to share? Now imagine that, and let's say they book it for tomorrow. Cool. 15 minutes before that call, I can hop on, I can run my numbers on the house, I can get a good feel for the area, what I think it could rent for, what I think it could sell for. And I come to that call way more prepared than if I just get caught off guard and answer some random phone call. So hopefully that gives you a good indication of why I think you need to use that to level up if you're not already. So the first one again was Google Calendar or a digital calendar. The second one was a scheduling link of some kind. I recommend something like Calendly, and you can go to chrisbello.com/Calendly to check that out and to learn more, or consider setting it up if you don't already have it. The third thing that I recommend is having a task management system. I personally use something called Asana, A-S-A-N-A. If you go to asana.com, you can check that out. And I'm using the free version. They've got premium versions for this stuff, but I've gotten so much value off the free version by myself. I've added a couple of virtual assistants on there. I can drop any ideas, any tasks. I can break things down into steps. So really everything you do is kind of a mini project. Whether it's doing a workout program like 75 Hard, I have that in Asana. If it's eating a certain type of diet, I've been doing more of like a carnivore diet, kind of loosely. I'm not super strict on that, but I have a list of all the different foods that I can eat, the meats, the cuts, the grass-fed versus the non-grass-fed. Like I know exactly the type of stuff that I can get. So I actually personally have 75 Hard, all the read 10 pages, drink a gallon, do your first workout, second workout outdoors. All of that is in Asana. Again, asana.com. And there's other ones like monday.com. And I guess you could use stuff like trello.com, Trello as well. But to give you some ideas, whenever people ask like, well, what do you put in there? Is it business? Is it personal? I'm like, everything is in there. 75 hard is in there. My grocery list is in there. My goals for this year are in there. The subtasks that I need to accomplish to hit those top level goals, those are in there. And I also have daily goals, real estate transactions, accountability items, self-development, courses that I'm going through. Everything's in there. This is like my one-stop shop to track progress against the goals that I have set for myself in various areas of my life. So I am not joking when I say literally everything goes in here. I mean, if there's something that's not in here, it must not be super important to me because I'm just not tracking it. So I would really recommend that you check something like that out and you put everything that's important to you there so you have visibility. So when I look at your calendar, I should ideally be able to look at your Google Calendar, your digital calendar, see appointments on your calendar throughout the day that align with your goals for the year. And if I'm not seeing that, you've got to change what you're focusing on because you're spending time on things that aren't going to take you closer to your goal. The way Calendly integrates with that is that, let's say you're a real estate person like myself, you're going out, you're networking, you're talking to people, you're finding people who want to buy, sell, rent, invest in real estate. They message you, they contact you, they text you, they are interested, they want to learn more. You send that link out to them. This is exactly what I do. Say, hey, thank you so much for thinking about me. I'd love to see how I can help. Here you go. Here's my link. Schedule a day and time that works for you. Boom, bada bing, bada boom. They schedule a time. It's on my calendar. It's on their calendar. That all happens automatically. We do a Zoom call. Now, we both get to chat a little bit about how the process works, what their timeline is. I have all the information captured in Calendly itself from whenever they book a call. I know their motivation, their timeline, their budget, and any other relevant information that I want to add. And then let's say, I'm not really sure if I'm interested just yet, or okay, let's start the process. I then drop them. I've got checklists in Asana for the transaction. Let's say it's a buyer lead or a seller lead. There are a series of steps that happen every single time that someone buys a house or every single time that they sell a house. I mean, it's not rocket science. There's steps. It's just like a checklist. Whenever pilots are getting ready to fly a plane, they go through a checklist. Even though they've done it a million times and they could probably fly without the checklist, they still go through the checklist to make sure that everything they are doing is accurate and that they did not miss a step. And that is the power of having a project management tool or a task management tool such as Asana. So the three again, Google Calendar, Calendly, and Asana are the ones that I personally use and that I recommend. But of course, plug and play as you see fit. You can experiment, you can try things out. But ultimately, a eureka idea that I had when I was looking for CRMs personally and for tools to use is the best CRM or the best software to use is the one that you actually use. So don't get too caught up. Don't get too hung up looking at reviews of different types of software and what is this and what is that? What's the difference? Just start using something, pick something. And I've made it easy here. If you want to just copy and paste what I've done, go ahead and do that. But that is going to help you a ton to make sure that you set yourself up for a successful year and just a successful system overall. So if you need more help, I am taking on some clients in terms of like productivity and automation. I love this stuff. I've read books and nerded out about how to better optimize systems and processes and set up automations so that really I have it even more advanced where someone schedules a time on Calendly, they get the invitation, I get the invitation on our calendars, but they're also added to my email list. And depending on how they found me, they get a different sequence of emails. So there's a lot of really cool things that you can do and build upon if you want to nerd out about it. And it's just about incremental improvement. So start small, start simple, get Google Calendar, boom. I'd count that as a win. Then add the next layer on, something like Calendly. Then you can add on something like email marketing if you're using MailChimp or Aweber or Constant Contact. And then you can also integrate that with Asana with some tools such as Zapier, where it ties everything together. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, no need to fret. That is why I've nerded out about this stuff because I love learning about it. So if you do need some help, I'm going to drop a link in the show notes. Feel free to schedule a quick time to chat with me, completely free, 15 minutes. Let's just talk about what are your challenges? What are your goals? Is there anything in particular you're looking to achieve? perhaps there's some synergy there where I can offer to help you and we can kind of come up with some kind of win-win, opportunity, fair value exchange for my knowledge and effort and the systems that I've learned how to create and implement for myself. I can possibly help you get there as well, depending on the scope of work and your budget and your expectations and things like that. So if you are interested, feel free to schedule that 15-minute call or shoot me a DM on Instagram. I'd love to chat. And this is something that's kind of newer that I'm offering because I know there's people in the audience who need help with this. I know I have the skill set and the passion to actually help to integrate this. I'm just trying to figure out how can we mesh the two where it's a win-win and I help you get further. And I can also kind of carve out this little niche for myself to help those of you in the audience who need some help with systems, automations, integrations, and so on. So thank you so much for your time and checking this episode out. I hope you found some value here, and I hope you have an amazing new year and rest of your day if you're not listening to this in real time. So thanks again. We'll catch you in the next episode and talk soon.